grateful. I appreciate it.
I've always found it very interesting looking at the reasons why people give their favorite content creators huge sums of money in return for recognition and a special reaction. I don't really buy into the idea that these donators, especially the ones giving the hugest amounts of money, are doing it just to support the streamer, because we very rarely see such a large swath of people giving massive donations on Patreon to their favorite YouTubers, for example. Instead, I believe that there are some psychological reasons rooted in some of the dynamics of Twitch donating and the reward feedback system that help encourage these donations and allow them to take place, as well as, in some cases, some behavior by the streamers themselves that encourages these types of large individual contributions. From my experience as an observer of Twitch, as well as a donator myself, a large reason why a section of people, not necessarily everybody, but a meaningful subset of people will donate to a given streamer is to get individual attention and recognition. What I mean by this is not necessarily trolling the streamer, although this could be one of the potential benefits, but essentially what this means is that if you're in a large chat where you're competing with attention for the streamer to actually read out your comments, donating a sum of money to get that streamer to actually acknowledge what you say is a very lucrative thing, especially if, let's say, your favorite streamer has a chat that scrolls at the fucking speed of light. You're going to have to donate if you want them to actually read what you have to say, because otherwise they're not going to care about you as an individual. So this strongly incentivizes people to give money beyond just viewing normally, and this is one reason why people would give money over, say, if it was a YouTube channel, because they want to be individually recognized in real time by the person that they're watching. Another thing that I've seen go on in certain instances that I certainly don't think is a bad thing on either the streamer's end or the donator's end, but is definitely a phenomena that does occur, is that people will give money just because they want to see the streamer's gratitude for receiving the large donation. One of the things that people will do if they're feeling down, feeling bad about themselves, is donate to a cause where they will immediately get feedback of the person appreciating their contribution. And on Twitch, this is certainly the case. If you don't feel good about yourself and you give a large donation to somebody who you really support, they're going to be immensely grateful, say good things about you, maybe even give you some special attention and even privilege because of how much they value what you've done to help make their life better. And this can be a feeling that not only improves the streamer's life, but can also make a person feel better about themselves in turn, because of how they've positively impacted someone else's life, and they can immediately see the tangible effects. Like, imagine if you could donate $1,000 to some charity fund and immediately see with your own eyes in 2 seconds the benefits and the people thanking you that just personally received your contribution. That's kind of what happens with large donations, and I think that is why they are psychologically alluring to those who have the ability to give, beyond something like YouTube, where they might not be able to get that level of individual attention and thanks, let alone in real time.
My sprinkler goes like this.
I also do believe that in many instances, streamers themselves encourage donations that they end up getting by their choices and behavior. And I'm not talking some level of like mind voodoo shit, I'm talking about subtle, implicit choices that they make that will encourage people to give more money than they would without that extra motivation by the streamers' reactions and behaviors. In particular, I mean streamers who encourage donation wars, say things like, oh, do we have a donation war going on right now? Oh, you gonna give some bits to me? You'll see this on various streams of various sizes where, I forget, one of the examples I remember was I was just watching Moon stream once, and he was playing a game called Late Shift, which is just some weird game where you react to it. Whatever, wasn't really the point of what I mean to bring up. What he did do, though, is on several instances, once he made some progress in the game, he would scream out to his chat to give him bits. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. You only live once. You're out here trying to make a grind and make enough money to support yourself. I don't think that's something streamers should feel guilty about, but the fact is, when a streamer makes an action of that type, it does affect what the chat will do, and there will be a subset and proportion of people who otherwise might not be incentivized to go and give money that when the streamer essentially implicitly begs for money or makes a call to encourage people to donate, that does make a difference. I don't think it's the entire picture, and I don't think that's why people would donate in the first place, They would donate in the first place because they supported the streamer, but at the same time, when you nag people for donations, in many instances that is effective and does work. Another thing that streamers will do on occasion, and they obviously do this because it increases the amount of money they get, there would literally be no reason aside from this to do so, is they will put up donation goals, put up types of expenses they need covered or want covered, and they will basically have it in the background, some donation setup where they want to reach a certain amount of goal after a set period of time. And again, there's nothing scummy about this. In fact, it's a very upfront thing. You're essentially telling people you want to make a certain amount of money within a certain period of time. But this does incentivize people to give more, and there's nothing really inherently wrong with that. But this does affect the patterns of behavior and puts the constant idea of giving money into the streamer in every single viewer's minds, because they will see this bar there the whole time that they're viewing, and then they'll have these little thoughts that will creep up into their head of, could I give a couple bucks to support this guy? Could I give more money to support this guy? Is this something I want to do? These thoughts will be actively encouraged, as opposed to if you just have a donation button hidden away in some dark corner where no one can see it. And then getting to the competitive spirit, a lot of streamers will have either a top donator, where they'll show the top donation they received for a certain day. Some people have this thing called a bit boss, or something along those lines, where they have, based on how much you've given, you get your name up there with like a certain HP bar. It's kind of convoluted and I don't fully understand it, but what ends up happening in these instances is that viewers compete to be the biggest, most special donator, the biggest contributor, and will actually oftentimes get in competition with one another. This leads to donation wars, it leads to a fight over whose name gets to stay on the screen, and this all helps out the broadcasters in a very big way, because they're going to not only encourage small periodic donations, but it gets their biggest hitters super involved and in a very competitive spirit, trying to compete with one another to be the big dog on the channel. And so, again, there's nothing really wrong with this, but it is a manipulation of psychology for a streamer to get their goal of more money. And as long as the streamer understands this, there's nothing wrong with it. I would probably do the same thing if I was in a position where I thought I could take advantage of it and I knew the people that, were giving the money weren't, stealing from their parents' credit cards. But I do think that is an interesting phenomena of psychology, that all these small little details that make up a stream all contribute to why people give money on Twitch, and why it's not something that you'd see, for example, as much on YouTube, because all of these small psychological principles are missing when there's not the live feedback and the alerts and the displaying of the top donator and all that stuff, as well as the live reaction. It all adds up on itself, and this is why it is such a lucrative market for individuals who are trying to solicit money to go onto Twitch as opposed to on YouTube, because on YouTube, all you really get is a Patreon. There's so many different ways to monetize your platform on Twitch in real time that I think YouTube is starting to try to transition towards as they build their live streaming platform up.
Keep dropping those bits. I do get, like I said, a penny per bit.
So, as far as I'm concerned, this discussion about Twitch donations has talked about all the factors that I care to talk about and consider. There are some factors that I'll just briefly name that I'm not going to get into, either because I think they're boring or they're just not things I care to talk about. So, number one would be people just supporting in small, individual ways because they want to show the streamer some love. Just your typical sub or small donation. Obviously, that's what people's goals and intentions are. There's really nothing to say besides the obvious on that, so I didn't want to get too much into that. I didn't really see a point in talking about that because it's just so fundamental and rudimentary. Secondly, obviously, some people are going to donate to members of the opposite sex, especially with the demographics. You'll see a lot of guys donating to female streamers for sexual gratification. I don't give a shit about that, Just doesn't interest me, and everyone already talks about this. You could probably watch 20 other videos on this topic if that's what you're interested in. And finally, a lot of people do donate just for attention in a way that is, very provocative, put a bunch of statements in there that are, very edgy and racist, all that. Again, I just don't really care to discuss that. It's just a very basic concept, and there's not much to say about it. So, that's about it. Thanks for watching this video, and we will bring another topic next time when I decide to get around to it.